I'm Rob Redding, the Recovery and Treatment Manager here in South Hams at South West Water. We're here today at the beautiful location of Gampton and Outer Hope Cove, looking at the impacts of fog, so fats, oil and greases, on our infrastructure. Fats and oils and greases can form together in the network and certainly at pump stations and our treatment works to create blockages, so they form in quite large clumps. So initially when you're shoving it down the drain, that will go down as mostly a liquid form, but mostly since it's hitting our network and accumulating at pump stations, it forms effectively what we call fatbergs, and they can cause havoc. Fog's much harder to get rid of in a process. It requires daily operator intervention in order to make that happen, and they're spending more and more time that we're seeing on our sites having to deal with fog and remove it from the process, whereas that's time and resource and even money that we could be spending elsewhere improving our infrastructure. Fats, oils and greases in the network can create a lot of blockages and therefore cause premature spilling. So we want to try and remove those from the network as much as possible. The best way to do that really is to take a proactive approach and to prevent those entering the network in the first place.
So my name's Mark Downs, I'm Operations Manager at ECAS. We are contract partners to South West Water, delivering environmental programmes, looking really at some of the contributing factors to blockages, floodings and pollutions. So Unblocktober is a national campaign. It runs every year in October, as the name suggests, and it's all about trying to raise awareness with the public of some of the preventable issues that can arise through the wrong thing getting into the sewer networks. I think nearly half of the public, about 48%, admit to flushing wet wipes, admit to pouring oil down the sink. So if you think that's half, nearly, of the public that admit to doing it, it's a massive problem. So we're down here today to try and trace some of the problems that we're having at the pumping stations and the treatment works. So we're CCTVing some of the lines to try and identify the areas that we think that the fat, oil and grease in particular is coming from. So we're finding a bit of a build-up of fat, oil and grease. So what we'll do is we'll look to identify where that's coming from. So if that's businesses, we'll have a conversation with them about how they might be trapping fat at source, how they're disposing of waste oil, what they're doing there to make sure it's not getting into the network. There's a number of businesses, I'm pleased to say all of them have worked with our officers to put grease trapping equipment in, some at considerable expense. We've got one site that's put 3 units in to obviously trap that grease at source and stop that getting into the network. So the response is great. I mean, we're in a beautiful area, people are keen to protect it, which is great. In the first sort of 20 months, we're coming up to 400,000 litres of fat, oil and grease that's been trapped from the businesses that we've worked with as well. So it's a phenomenal amount of material that was getting into the network, was causing restrictions, was causing blockages, and obviously that is one of the causes of spills. So we always encourage the public to wipe pots, pans and plates first. Obviously try and get as much of that grease off as you possibly can before you put it in the sink and before you put it in the dishwasher. It's to try to not think of the sewer as a bin, which I think sometimes it's out of sight, out of mind. So some good practices, obviously get as much of the fat off the plates as you can, stop that getting into the plug hole and into the network. Unblocktober is fantastic. It raises the awareness of what's a really important cause for a month, but obviously we've got a team of guys that are out all day, every day, working, looking at identifying the cause, the source of issues that's preventable, and obviously working with communities, businesses to obviously prevent that from happening. So it's a great campaign for a month, but it's a year-long fight for us on the ground.